Welcome to the Dynamics 365 Practice Show. We have a frank discussion with our guest today on how to create winning teams and why this is so important in today's market. But first, let me tell you about an ISV I've been working with called MapTasker. I like the innovative way their solution combines location intelligence, geospatial data, and artificial intelligence to help field-based teams become rock stars. I often hear stories from both sales and field-based teams who spend far too long planning out their day, working out what customers to see, finding new leads, and trying to understand where their time is best spent. MapTasker allows sales and field teams to manage territories, see customer data, plan their day, and find new leads to spend more time with customers. Did you know that a high percentage of business data contains location or geospatial components, yet the majority of businesses are not leveraging the benefits location intelligence can bring? Check out maptasker.com to find out how your customers could do more with their data. Now let's welcome Shane Parsons to the show. He's the Microsoft Director at KPMG Australia. Shane has over 20 years experience in IT sales and sales management, someone who's been described as having a direct approach, challenging mindset, and a natural closer. We dig beneath the surface and find out what it takes to seal the deal when going after opportunities. I've actually had the great pleasure and honor to work with Shane for about 4 years in my career. And I've got to say, there's nobody that comes close to him with his diligence, his ability to execute on sales opportunities and win multi-million-dollar deals. Some of my best career moments have been spent working opportunities with Shane. He's definitely a legend in the industry. If you want to check out the show notes for this episode, go to nz365guy.com/81. Now, let's get on with the show. Hi Shane, welcome to the Dynamics 365 Practice Show. How are you?
Good, thanks Mark. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Good to have you on the show, Shane. Tell me a bit about your story thus far. What's your journey been into Dynamics? How long have you been working in the space? Just fill us in, give us some background.
Yeah, sure. I started back in '97, actually, Mark, in the UK with another software or CRM application at the time, which was a market leader. On coming back to Australia in 2002, set up my own business, and I think about 2005 was the first time we decided to get involved with Dynamics, which was obviously in its infancy back then.
So that's how you got started. Kind of fast forward, have you been working for the last, since 2005 now with Dynamics, or have you been out, done other roles? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I guess, 22 years now in the IT industry, starting back in '97 in the UK, as I mentioned. Dynamics was one of the 3 CRM applications which we resold and provided consulting services around, the other 2 being Goldmine and Sage, back in the, as I said, the early 2000s. Yeah. I guess from 2008, 2009, Dynamics became the primary CRM in our stable. And I guess from that point, as my career's progressed and sold my business to a listed company back in 2009, it really now has been solely based on Dynamics for the last 10 years or so.
Wow. Okay, so a long career in the space. When you're kind of not working, what do you do? Do you have family? What are you up to in your spare time?
3 kids and a wife. It obviously takes up a lot of time. Try and keep active, doing a lot of sports, beach, golf, tennis, touch footy. I think it's good to get that balance right between work, family, and keeping fit.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say you're one of the fittest guys in the industry.
It helps create longevity, I think, Mark.
Nice. So what's kind of kept you around in the industry so long? What's made you feel like go this period of time? You're not switched careers. What's kept you here? Several
things, I guess. Motivation's hard to keep. And I guess dealing with the people you deal with on a day-to-day basis, I guess the traditional CRM was very much about sales and marketing, which is my bread and butter. I like to deal with innovative, creative thinkers, and you get that in the sales and marketing world. I take great pride in, especially in the early days, but even now, a lot of the businesses which we've worked with and watching how through the technology's enabled the growth within their businesses, and a lot of these businesses, have become very successful or sold, for multi-million-dollar deals, and you get a great sense of achievement from that. I guess technology is a fast-moving sector and industry, which always keeps things interesting. and success. Without success, I don't think I would have remained here for the last 22 years.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So what's your experience? I know you work as a system integrator, but what's your experience? I understand recently you've been starting to build some IP over the traditional SI type business.
Yeah, I think more and more, especially if you look at where the market's moving to, deep IP, more than accelerators, but actual product is where most successful SIs are moving to. As you mentioned, currently building out a couple of products at the moment, one in the aged care and disability sector and the other in higher education. And I think, the purpose in doing this is you need to invest, and you need that deep industry expertise. The firm where I'm at now, obviously, we have very deep advisory and sector specialists, which does help us, provide a very custom fit solution, end to end, which which also gives us an audience of the global market, rather than just looking at a regional or a country where you reside, as far as potential customers go.
Yeah. So I understand you got a lot of experience in running very successful teams, in the tens of millions of dollars, the type of projects you've delivered on over the years, especially in recent years. What do you see constitutes a successful team?
I mean, for me, Mark, it's everyone knowing their role, everybody being on the same page or on the bus going in the same direction. So everyone's sharing a common a common purpose in which we collaborate, and everybody knowing their role and what it takes to actually deliver a successful outcome, both internally and externally.
So kind of what do you see are those key roles that you need to have, if you like, for a strong SI type business to start with in the dynamics or power platform space?
It's broad, mate. To be honest with you, if you actually look at, there's multiple roles. I mean, everything starts with the sales engine. So you obviously need some deep expertise from a marketing perspective. You need to obviously have enough marketing and sales qualified leads coming through the pipeline, on top of your general networking and organisational relationships. Pre-sales is a key part. They're obviously your SME that ties the business requirement through to the technology and how the technology enables that outcome for a business. You need a range of sales individuals. They're all different beasts, but I don't think there's any one fit provides all answers. So I think a range of experienced sales hunters is definitely essential, and then an experienced and established delivery team. I mean, if I look at my delivery team today, we've got about 45 consultants, ranging from our very seasoned platform and solution architects down to our graduates. So you need that array and that mix to get your right blended rate, but also make sure you've got the security of delivering a great outcome for your clients.
Yeah. So tell me a bit about the importance of, when you're in, if you like, a bid stage, do you often have key resources that are really guns, if you like, at the bid process, or is that all just done by the salesperson?
No, we have a dedicated bid management team. I think you need professional writers. You need people who understand the tech. You need people who understand, the responses which the client is asking for. And I guess you need a range of catalog or libraries based on what the workload is that you're responding to. So I guess having deep experience bid managers, bid writers, and also, seasoned architects who can respond to bids in a certain way. And I like to keep those dedicated away from the delivery team, because it provides, more times than not, a shortlisting through to the next stage.
So in your career, what have you found effective in building a successful team?
I think as a manager or business owner, you need to understand the individuals, because every individual is different, and it's a collective group of individuals that make up a successful team. So looking at their strengths and weaknesses is pertinent to delivering or building a great team. Success isn't easy to come by, but if you actually take all the individuals in the team and look at their strengths and weaknesses and position them in a team which help complement one another, I think that's the starting point. I look at a BDM. One BDM isn't the same as an ex-BDM, the same as a functional, the same as a developer, the same as an architect. So it's actually letting the individuals work to their strengths while still developing the areas they may not be as strong at, and giving them without making them responsible for every aspect of that sale or that project. So definitely take away the title and just look at the core strengths of the individuals, which generally give you the best opportunity to make up a successful team.
So I've heard in many companies that you've gone into, you've generally created a massive upswing in revenues for that business. How do you kind of set the culture, that kind of winning culture within the team, and also to press on and always achieve, if you like, the next level of game, the next goal, etc., within your practice?
Culture is an interesting word, and all sorts of different sporting and business organisations throughout the world relate to it or in a different way. For me, culture is a word that describes who we want to be and how we want to achieve it. And along the way, it gives you want to give people the autonomy to make decisions, let them know you trust them, but also make it very clear what they are responsible for and what the expectation is that they'll deliver on that. So I think if you can do that, you can provide the right environment. It gives everybody the best chance of success. And when you get that success, I'm a big believer that part of the creating the successful culture is celebrating the good times. We win as a team and we also lose as a team, but there's no individual in it. Everybody's got their part to play. And if everybody focuses on what it is you're asking them to do, it gives everybody the best opportunity to be successful as individuals, but more importantly, as a group of people. So I think, culture is a mixture of all of those things, Mark.
Yeah, very good. So, we've talked a bit about team. Well, what about, if you like, the wider team, like Microsoft, for example? What role do you see them playing? What have you seen effective in engaging with Microsoft, as the vendor and you as the SI?
I think it really is dependent on the SI's maturity level. Needless to say, very, very important and critical to an SI's success and the time in which success can be achieved. So strong relationships with the vendor are absolutely important, but to varying degrees. And I think you need connections both at the top of Microsoft and all the way down to sort of the seller and account manager level. And if you've got good connections throughout your organization with all the different connection points at Microsoft, you'll generally be more successful than otherwise.
Yeah. I understand. Like you've won a lot of awards for the projects and deliveries you've done over the years. Worldwide Partner Awards, I see. Tell me what value do they play in how you can win, if you like, new business by winning those accolades?
They're important, like any award or any recognition. If you're doing something well and you're being recognised for it, it gives your prospective clients and your current clients added trust and confidence that you're the right organisation and the right group of people to deliver an outcome. And at the end of the day, if organisations choose the wrong SI or the wrong company to work with, it can mean their job at the end of the day. There's many millions of dollars being invested in the solutions we're delivering. So it is, it can be a career ending or a career accelerating decision making this choice. And I guess, having been stamped by Microsoft as a global or Australian award winner in the past definitely has helped open doors and build instant rapport and confidence and trust within the prospective clients that we have worked with.
Yeah, nice. I want to kind of uncover a bit more around, I know you're very strong in the sales and business development part of the business, and particularly mentoring those that work for you in those roles. So I'd like to address sales, what's worked effectively, and also pre-sales shortly. But, when an opportunity presents itself, kind of how do you, if you like, go into like a process of validating whether that opportunity is legitimate or not, and whether it's one that you're going to pursue?
I'm a big believer in qualification. So there's a qualification methodology which I try and impart on our sales teams to use, and it still works today as it worked 10 years ago. It's varied a bit in that time, but qualify them and qualify some more.
Yep.
If you continue to do that at every stage of the opportunity, you'll continue to keep your finger on the pulse. The other thing I think which is important for salespeople is you only have a limited amount of time to get your job done. So you need to appreciate your own time, and very strong and consistent qualification at all different levels of the opportunity will help you ensure that you're putting the best use of your time forward.
So I've had the great honor of working in a lot of sales deals with you in the past, which, thoroughly enjoyed and learned a lot from you. And one of the things that I noticed is that you could always tell whether we were in a position that we weren't, if you like, we're making up the numbers for them. And so you had this kind of art in spotting the buying signals. And so kind of what are you looking for when you're, engaging in deals, you're in front of the customer to validate whether, the people that can make decisions are in the room, or even if they're, are looking at making a decision positively for you?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I don't know if I'm blessed or I've been lucky, but
Mm-hmm.
a fair bit's got to do with sales intelligence, I think, and being able to read the audience. So again, you can look at different levels of engagement from the key buyers on the other side of the table, who are the key stakeholders. If you believe it's a genuine deal and you've done the first aspect, which is the qualification, right? You've matched with the different people in your bid and opportunity team. I think you can get a pretty good feel for, is it the right opportunity? Is it the right client, and how real it is? Are there certain drop dead dates that mean the organisation has to do something? I like to ask a range of the same question in a range of different ways and see if I get the same answer. And that's a really good way of sifting through the oxygen thieves compared to the people who are going to invest.
Yeah, so true. So true. So how do you kind of set up your team? So when you're going into, let's say your client side, you've already kind of met the qualifying criteria to have a seat at the table. How do you work when you've got, let's say, 2-3 of your staff engaged to make sure that the right voices come through at the right point? If you like, the team sell, how do you kind of construct that so people know when to say nothing and know when to jump in?
Sit close to them, so you've got long legs and you can kick them in the shins, which is an old tactic, but a very successful one. Again, it comes from trust within that team. A lot of the people, obviously, I've worked with throughout the last 20 odd years. Yeah, and many I still work with today. So you do build up a natural understanding of who's to talk when, and once you get that rhythm built out, it's nearly like clockwork. So I think that's absolutely important. It's like any good sporting team. Once those combinations are built, everyone's job becomes so much easier because it's very clear on what you need to achieve. The other thing that I've noticed works very well within the teams I've worked with or built in the past is when you man match against somebody, you can sometimes tell if you're building rapport instantly or not. And when you're not, you've got to recognise that quickly. If one of the key stakeholders or buyers on the other side, you're not actually building the rapport you need to, you should be able to spot that and switch and make sure that you move somebody else onto that person. If you can't recognise that, before you know it, the opportunity will be over.
Yeah. Are there any kind of buying signs that you're looking for from, let's say it's not clear who the decision or who's the authority sitting with? What are you kind of looking for?
In the old days, mate, it'd be the guy holding the pen ready to sign the check. But it's changed and it's harder to recognise these days. I guess I always look at, as I mentioned before, people can make or break careers on these days. So who has the most to gain or lose, around the table? Do they fail if they do nothing, or do they fail if they pick the wrong partner, and what does that mean to them? So again, getting a personal understanding of what it means to the individual as well as the organisations you're dealing with, I think, is important. In spotting who the buyer is.
Yeah. How important is it to know, if you like, I know you've been involved in a lot of multinational deals involving, business that's been run across Hong Kong, New York, London, that type of thing, and in Australia as well. How do you kind of, when you're on a deal, kind of feel that the person you're engaging with is intimating they have the authority to sign things off when you've uncovered that perhaps the buying decision's way higher up and they might have a buying policy that makes it that it doesn't work with you? So how important is that whole research around knowing, the broader customer in an engagement?
I think these days it's more important than ever. You need to understand the client. You need to understand the industry. You need to understand the happenings within that industry. And again, you need to understand the personalities of the people you're dealing with. If you get those aspects right, again, it's going to give you a great opportunity of being the successful or the selected vendor. Yeah.
So going after a sale, tell me, what are the key roles that you feel that, most sales engagement, if you could standardize around, what are the key roles that you generally would want sitting around the table?
There's a couple of them. You want seasoned sales professionals. You want technical architects who understand that you're not there to outsmart or out-tech the technical people on the other side, but you're there to give them confidence and trust that the organisation not only understands the business, but you also understand how the technology or the Dynamics platform will enable the growth or the outcomes their business is seeking. And I think, pre-sales is extremely important. It's critical to your success. If you don't get that right, the deal can be over before it started. They're the individual who again really brings those business pains and outcomes that us as a vendor or as a solution will provide, to fruition in that pre-sales stage of the sale or bid.
Yeah. So apart from, and this question is around, what makes a successful sales in your opinion? Now, the default would be, that you win it, of course, but kind of what are the other things you're looking for besides winning the sale?
Sorry, mate, I don't understand that question.
So you're saying it all just comes down to the win?
Well, yeah, winning is, you don't get anything for running second. What you get for running second is you generally waste a lot of time and a lot of money. So what's the opportunity cost of the deals you should be speaking to that you're not? It's a huge cost to any organisation. So I don't. It's like I say to my kids, participating is great, but winning is better.
Yeah.
Have more fun. You have more fun when you win. Trust me.
Well, from experience, I'd have to agree with you. So tell me about pre-sales and kind of what role do you see pre-sales playing in an opportunity? You're saying it's really important, but why? What are those key elements, and how do you define pre-sales as opposed to the BDM/sales role?
I mean, good pre-sales people, they have a number of things. They're very good storytellers. Exceptional storytellers. They're people that ooze confidence, and that confidence then, as I said earlier, builds trust with the people we're dealing with. Because remember, a lot of times, the first time you sit around a table with multiple people, multiple stakeholders at the other end, you're only getting that one opportunity. There may be relationships that a sales individual or a manager, someone in management or the exec team has already, but when you're sitting there and you've got 8 to 10 people who all have their own interest in what they need out of the solution. As I said, the pre-sales people needs a deep understanding of what the platform does, where the platform's going, and how that ties back to the business pains of the organisation you're working with. They need personality. They need pizzazz.
Yeah. So what's changed over the last, 10 years? Have you seen customers' buying behavior change? Have you seen the way that you would engage in sales have changed? Or is it pretty much the same deal as 10 years ago?
No, I think they're more savvy, without a doubt, more savvy. There's more research done up front. Technology back then was, do I need it? I think now it's, I need it, and how much does it cost? And, so I think the buyers are more savvy. I think there's more people generally involved in a deal now. It's not a matter of going in and convincing a CIO or an MD or a sales and marketing director. There's multiple buyers within the process, which makes it a more complex sale more times than not. And with what you can achieve now through the Dynamics platform, Power Platform, there is, the solutions are much bigger. They touch a lot more departments, a lot more individuals, so they're a lot riskier. Yeah.
Interesting. What about things like change management? I know you've been involved in projects where change management has been included. Is it critical in the successful implementation of projects?
Yeah, without a doubt. We don't generally offer solutions these days without change. One thing that we've worked on building here is something called Powered. Powered is 3 sets of deliverables which we can and we give to accelerate a sale or a project delivery element for our clients. So what we actually give clients is a target operating model for that sector, business processes down to level 5, and the solution with that industry fit to it. So, we walk in with these 3 elements, and all of a sudden you've got industry best practice with a custom built solution, deep processes, and they think, wow, not only does it take a $5 million solution down to possibly $2 million, you're accelerating way ahead of what your competitors can do at that time, and that's becoming a more and more important play for us moving forward, now and I see in the future.
Yeah, yeah. So when you started, with Dynamics and stuff, there, Microsoft used to release once every 3 years. You kind of had 3 years to, develop your skills in it, and so therefore you got better at selling as in over the finer points. Microsoft this year, I just read, are releasing around 800 new features and functionality across the Dynamics 365 stack. So they're more complex. The products, there's so much more technology. How do you kind of keep your team up to speed on the cutting edge of learning this new stuff so that your customers that you're consulting to are expecting you to know the best recommendation, if you like, or your team to know the best recommendation for them? How do you make sure you're maintaining, if you like, the skills of your team?
Yeah, I have a technical leadership group of 6 of my associate directors here who are responsible for different aspects of the platform. So, we engage on a fortnightly basis. They then have different aspects of the platform to go back to research, both at a vendor and got a couple of MVPs on the team as well.
Mm-hmm,
So we are
mm-hmm.
getting insights into what's coming, and that knowledge then needs to be imparted on not only our delivery teams, but as importantly our sales and pre-sales team, to make sure that we're presenting of what's going to be here today and tomorrow rather
Yep.
than what was here last week or last year. Not that you'll use it all, and you need to be very mindful of when you roll out certain aspects of new features and functionality in the platform. But for some deals, especially when we're competing against a Salesforce as an example, you need to be dealing with what's coming rather than what's here.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Salesforce. Do back in the day, we used to often go head to head against them, and sometimes quite successfully. Are you seeing Salesforce in the deals as much as in the past, or have you found that, if you like, Microsoft's story, with the technology has matured to a degree that customers, whether because they've adopted O365 early or Azure, that there's much greater appetite to adopt a Microsoft's, business application suite?
Probably hasn't changed as much as I would like, if
Mm-hmm.
in all honesty. We try and engage early, definitely here where we have our advisory and strategy teams often going in and doing the strategy or CRM roadmaps for clients. So where we have that level of engagement in the initial stages, it does help get some control where we can over the
Mm-hmm.
technology or the right technology for clients. But
Yeah.
I guess I see Salesforce just as much today as I did 3 years ago
Okay.
or 5 years ago. Their approach hasn't changed. They're still very strong at trying to take every conversation, every opportunity into a marketing conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, they've got more sellers, they've got more people active in market than Microsoft, and I think
Mm-hmm.
they've probably got some very seasoned sellers from a vendor perspective as part of the Salesforce operation. So they're always going to be there and they're always going to be competitive. But I think what you need to continually tie back to the client is, what is it you're really trying to achieve? Is
Yeah.
marketing 90% of what you're trying to achieve, or is it 10?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when you're actually looking to work out what platform is the right platform for you as an organisation, make sure you've got your weighting right, because
Mm-hmm.
too often I've seen clients, we don't lose too often, but where we have lost, it's a marketing conversation we lose on. The
Mm-hmm.
clients a year or 2 years later realise that Salesforce don't have a seamless marketing solution, and marketing was really only 10 or 15% of what they needed to achieve, and all the other aspects probably haven't delivered
Yeah.
as promised.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting, interesting. Shane, it's been great talking to you. I'd like to get on some quick fire questions, as we go for the wrap up. So tell me, how do you stay productive personally?
Mate, as I said earlier, I like to work hard. I like to get my balance in my life right. I
Mm-hmm.
exercise daily. Whether it's, I play tennis on Mondays, touch footy on Tuesdays, gym on Wednesdays, run on Thursdays.
Wow.
Do kids sport on Friday evenings in coaching the kids. I play golf every Saturday and surf and swim on Sundays. So
Wow.
again, making sure that you can free your mind from the stress and
Mm-hmm.
the business side of things. Then you can walk into work the next day and you're fresh, and you have a good balance within the mind to make the right decisions for the next day rather than being caught up on the previous.
Yeah, nice, nice. What's one piece of tech that has transformed your life? Piece of technology.
GPS, mate, to be honest. I now know how far I am from the hole on every shot on the golf course,
Mhm.
so I can now play the right club. So it's definitely
Nice,
helped the handicap.
nice, nice.
But again, if I was speaking to my 20-year-old son, I'm sure he'd say Tinder.
For him, yeah. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be based on where you've already visited? What's your kind of favorite destination worldwide?
Mate, my home. I live on the Northern Beaches, which is
Mm-hmm.
God's country here in Sydney. And there's no better place, when you travel a lot for work, and I've been nearly everywhere in the world. There's nothing better than getting home 2 minutes from the beach, 2-minute walk from the beach, and no trains, no hustle bustle of the city.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you ask me one place I haven't been, which I'd like to go, which I find very interesting, would probably be South Africa.
Nice. What's the best footy team in the world?
South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Why?
Most successful team in the history of rugby league, 21 premierships, and undoubtedly number 22 in 2019.
But I thought you said you came from Northern Beaches. Surely that's not the main team of the Northern Beaches.
It's not, mate, but again, being a successful person, I follow the most successful club.
Well done. Shane, who do you recommend as a guest on the podcast in future?
Wow, it's a tough one. I guess, mate, former colleague of mine who extremely strong from a bid perspective, Jason Ferguson would be a great fella to catch up with and share a yarn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't mind if you introduce me. That'd be fantastic. And
I'll arrange it. No
Shane,
problem at all, Mike. I'll arrange it for you.
It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. If people if anything's kind of sparked interest in what we've discussed here today and they want to connect with you online, where's the best place for them to find you online?
LinkedIn, mate. And happy to help anyone wherever I can if they think I can be useful in that way.
Thanks again for joining us on today's Dynamics 365 show. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. Have you heard about our free 90-day mentoring challenge? We're just launching our latest cohort for April and are planning more throughout the year. Subscribe now at nz365guy.com and get the latest updates on our next intake. Full show notes for this episode can be found at nz365guy.com/81. See you next time.